One of the most pleasant surprises from the second day of preseason testing was Lewis Hamilton, as he managed to set a time faster than the best qualifying lap of Ferrari last year in Bahrain. The seven-time world champion has looked flawless in the SF-25, and there's no doubt that he's here to win and compete for much more than the Constructors' Championship. Only with this in mind did Hamilton send a fierce message to Leclerc, and more importantly, how will the Monegasque respond after he just saw the beast awakening in the Brit's soul? No question about it, Hamilton's lap times in Bahrain's second day of preseason testing were everything that Ferrari fans had hoped for. Not only did he post the second fastest time throughout the entire day, but he was also looking very stable in the SF-25, with corrections being almost unprecedented when exiting the corners. Part of this is because Hamilton has been able to understand a lot about the SF-25's behavior from the first day of preseason testing, where he said that there had been a lot of experimenting. Usually people would assume this is a bad thing, but right now we can see that Hamilton is utilizing the most out of the car thanks to the experimentation process that happened on the first day. As he went on to say, testing is always exciting. It's the first time you get to see what everyone has been developing and can start to get a feel for your own car and the year ahead. Being here with Scuderia, Ferrari HP, and in the SF-25 for the first time is an incredible feeling. Our focus right now is on experimenting with different things, gathering as much data as possible, and getting familiar with the car. And we've already learned a lot. It's too early to really understand performance, but everything feels good, and as a team, we're working on the best way to optimize each run. If we compare Hamilton's drives over the first 2 days, we can clearly see that on the second day, he had far fewer corrections and a much stabler rear end. Even though the rain played a big factor in the process of data gathering, Hamilton still looked quite happy in the car. And that was to be expected after he was all smiles from yesterday's session. Even though he had the fifth fastest time in the morning session and was more than half a second off Antonelli, the driver with the best lap time from this session, his confidence remained high. Another great indicator that Hamilton will definitely be a beast on the grid and is far from a decline as some doubted due to his age, is the motivation he has shown after the second day of preseason testing. A lot has been worked on, including the communication between him and his race engineer. While we are unlikely to hear more of the hammer time messages we've been used to hearing from Bono, that doesn't necessarily mean we will be stripped of great messages and moments from the newly formed duo of Hamilton and Adami. When talking about the future with Ferrari, Hamilton was adamant that there are still a lot of questions left unanswered, but on the other hand, he and his engineer are focused on fixing them through communication. As he added, "I don't have a crystal ball, so we're taking it one day at a time. We're just focused on doing our job. We aren't watching what is happening around us. With every lap and every session, I am learning more about the car and getting more comfortable with the different control systems that we have. I'm still in the learning phase of understanding the rear and front suspension and all the settings. My engineer and I are also learning how we both like to work in terms of communications." What is worth noting is that Hamilton is here to stay, and he is now proving the doubters wrong. So for those who believe that he has a long road ahead to catch up to Leclerc's experience with Ferrari, they might want to rethink their stance. The Brit has been quite open when it comes to being compared to other drivers in the sport, as he made sure to speak out about this, stating, "Don't ever compare me to anybody else. I'm the first and only black driver that's ever been in this sport. I am built different. I've been through a lot. I've had my own journey. You can't compare me to another 40-year-old past or present Formula One driver because they are nothing like me. I am hungry, driven, don't have a wife and kids, and I'm focused on one thing, and that is winning." Hamilton's steering wheel, which he requested, has a design very similar to the one he used at Mercedes. Driving the same car for 8 years is going to affect your preferences, and Hamilton made sure to transfer these preferences to Ferrari as well, with the Maranello team accepting them without any regret. The DRS button is also altered on Hamilton's steering wheel, as it sits at the top left side, whereas Leclerc has the neutral button positioned in this part of the steering wheel. What Hamilton prefers is to scroll through the information so that it is displayed on the dashboard using both of his hands, whereas Leclerc uses his right thumb only to complete these actions. Again, many of you might assume that these changes are not significant and not worth talking about, but when you're going at speeds of 300 kilometers per hour, you begin to understand that every single habit of the driver matters, even something as small as how they prefer to read through the information on the dashboard. Leclerc, while feeling the pressure from Hamilton on the second day of preseason testing, as he wasn't able to beat the seven-time world champion's personal best time, is quite happy that he now has someone with a very similar driving style to himself. This can help lift Ferrari's spirits after a very long period of struggles. Yes, the situation is going to be very difficult. If we look at how McLaren performs over long runs, Ferrari will face great difficulties matching that pace and fighting against two hungry drivers in Norris and Piastri. However, Ferrari has shown excellent race pace with consistent lap times from Leclerc over 16 laps of pushing. This means the team is now ready to work on putting the car in the optimal window and ensuring that both Hamilton and Leclerc won't suffer from rapid degradation and fall out of the optimal operating window too quickly.